big, big, big announcement in
Okay.
the world of Elon Musk. I don't know
Oh,
if you
no.
heard this.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if you heard. Just announced that he's getting ready for the launch of the infamous robotaxi, which will happen in Austin on June 22nd. Here's my question for you. Well, besides the fact, will it actually happen on June 22nd?
Yeah, right. That's the first question. Yeah, right.
So I did some digging on this, as you know, we're so responsible
As
on this
one
show.
does, yes.
We do this. The robotaxi, the Tesla robotaxi,
Okay.
has 9 cameras.
Yes.
9 fully functional cameras. Oh no, I'm sorry. 8 cameras. But the Waymo, the Jaguar competitor,
Yes.
an Alphabet competitor, has 29 cameras.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think about this? Do you feel if a robotaxi comes and picks Robert Rose up from very important Robert Rose places, does Robert Rose get in the robotaxi, or do you wait for the Waymo?
I'm probably waiting for Waymo. I mean, only because, the robotaxi feels like it was invented on a ketamine sort of binge, and so I'm feeling like it might not be all that put together. It's just a hunch. It's just.
Do you think in the taxi there's a place where you can get a quick hit of ketamine, like it's built into it?
Well, you got to figure, right? I mean, either that or all those cameras are basically so that it can track Elon getting busy making more kids.
Maybe there's a slot, like a condom slot.
Okay.
In the car, it says, "Hey, girls and boys, and everyone out there, please be careful."
That's right.
Because
and it's the thing that and Elon doesn't know where it is because he never uses it.
Okay, last question.
Yes.
Where is Elon spending Father's Day? Sunday. Where is that a trick question? Is that too soon? Too deep? We don't know. Let's go.
Just remember, everybody has your story to tell. Tell it well. Let this old marketing.
And now, for your listening pleasure, here's Polizzi and Rose, covering the week of media, marketing, and digital content news. This Old Marketing. Take it away, boys.
Well, hello, friends. Welcome to This Old Marketing, proudly brought to you by who? By who? The HubSpot Podcast Network, the audio destination for business professionals. And I'm Robert Rose, and welcome to episode number 484 for Friday, June 13th. Ooh, spooky 2025. And with me, as usual, is my pal, my colleague, and a guy who was wondering if they'd send in the Marine Corps to a Los Angeles shopping mall this week. Yes, Mr. Joe Polizzi.
You seriously had to start with that.
Yeah, well,
of all the news,
it
have to start with what's going on in your hometown.
I've been getting emails. I've getting a lot of emails.
Well, you're not close to the downtown protest activity.
We were there for dinner on Tuesday night.
There's no issues, right? I saw the Jimmy Kimmel. Well, there is, but there isn't. Like Jimmy Kimmel said, here's a live shot of downtown Los Angeles, and there was somebody holding like a Mickey Mouse doll, and there's somebody going to dinner, and like,
yeah, that's it. I mean, look, it's there are some chuckleheads that are running around doing stupid stuff like dropping rocks on police cars and lighting up Waymos and all of that and looting a few stores. I'll talk about this in my rant later in the show, but it is once again sort of being catastrophized in the exact wrong way by mainstream media. Just like it did during the fires, and here we go again. And anyway, I'll talk about it later. But yeah, everything is fine in LA, right? This is Tuesday in LA. There were worse. Honestly, there were more arrests and more damage done when the Dodgers won the World Series. And I would also point to Philadelphia because, of course, I'm going to trash the Eagles anytime I can. In Philadelphia, when they won the Super Bowl, there were more arrests and damage in that city during that celebration. So, give me a break.
Well, it's not going to happen in a red state, Robert.
No,
right? It's not gonna. They're not going to send in the National Guard or the Marines into a red state. They're just not. They're just not. And if they do, then come after me.
Yeah.
Whatever you're gonna do. I do want to let you know that even though I'm dealing with this man cold,
Man
that
cold.
I
Okay,
have,
so man cold.
I'm here.
You introduced me to
I've
this
showed
term.
up.
You introduced
First of
me
all,
to this term.
okay, so but we're talking before the show, folks.
Yeah.
And Robert says, because you can tell I've got a little bit of congestion going on. Robert says, "You feeling okay?" I said, "Yeah, I've got a man cold." And you said,
What the hell is a man
"What's a
cold?
man cold?" And oh my God, I can't believe you don't know what a man cold is. And here's my explanation of a man cold.
Yeah.
A man cold is
Are
basically.
you sure this isn't something that you and
No. This
your
is
lovely wife
absolutely it.
made
You
up?
could
Okay.
type into Google or ChatGPT man
Okay.
cold and you
All
will
right.
get this. So basically, when a guy gets a cold, basically it's the end of the world. I can barely function. I can barely get out of bed. I can barely do anything. But if a woman had a man cold, you'd never know. You'd never know that they're feeling any kind of sickness at all, because they're like, they brush it off. It's like,
Yeah.
no big deal. Me, I'm just trying to hold it all together. And so, even this morning, like
look, I
Pam
appreciate.
says it. Pam says, "How's your man
Yeah.
cold today, honey?"
Yeah.
Knowing that if she had it, I would never even know. I would never even know to ask how you're doing, because it would be regular. It would be fine. But with me, it's the end of the freaking world right now.
Yeah.
But I'm on the mend.
Well, that's good.
I'm
That's
feeling
good.
better.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate the framing very much. I appreciate that framing very much. It by the way, and maybe this is the reason I don't know about it. It's the exact opposite in my family, by the way. So, not to throw my beautiful wife under the bus or anything. But
No
when she gets
way.
when she gets a cold, it's the shows come on, all of the home shows and all of the Gilmore Girls and all of that come on the TV and do not stop. The couch is, I mean, the whole, we set up into a medical unit. It's, it's the whole thing. But I don't even remember the last time I had a cold. So put it that way.
Well, so just to give it a little bit more context, like when we'll go out and let's say we're with all of our friends and I'm a little bit not Joe.
Sure.
And somebody says, "Joe, what's wrong?" Pam will say, "Joe's fighting a man cold." And all the ladies nod their head yes, and all the guys nod their head, "Oh yeah." It's like, "Are you?" And the guys are like, "Are you okay, Joe?" Like they're really concerned, because a man cold to another man is a very serious thing. But the women know, they're like, "Oh God, like I can't believe
So you're
you even made it out."
you're suggesting that I'm not a man, and then
No.
I'm good with
maybe
that.
it's
I'm
different.
good with that, by the way.
It's
I'm
probably
all good
different
with
in
that.
California. Maybe the rules are different. Maybe the
Maybe
pollen count is a little bit different.
It may be. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Anyways, because you're so important to me and this show is so important, I battled through, put on my orange shirt for those of you watching on YouTube or LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And I'm here.
Well, that's lovely, I think.
I am here. And I had to and we and the other thing I got to tell you is, because I didn't mention that it was my wife's birthday last week, but I did say that it was somebody in the house's birthday.
Sure.
And so I didn't want to. Well, she had a couple people.
Are you sure it's not like sort of the hangover from that? Because I mean, didn't you guys like abuse yourselves pretty well?
No, I just was no. It's just called doing things.
Okay.
I was just
but for you, doing things is the casino and a lot of alcohol. So
no, but no, that's not necessarily true. That is not necessarily true. No, like on Sunday we went to church together. Then we went to the Museum of Art. We went out and had a family lunch in Little Italy in Cleveland.
Lovely.
Maxie's, by the way, patio is beautiful. I highly recommend it. We did that, and then we went and saw Ballerina.
Oh,
the John Wick special.
How was that?
I give it a 7 out of 10.
Okay.
It's a decent part of the John Wick family.
Sure.
And then, because it's my wife's birthday, and even though I got a man cold, I said, "Buck up, Buttercup," and I went out and we did kayaks on the sunset. We're during the sunset.
It
was
nice.
very romantic, and I did all that with a man
nice.
cold. So there you go.
All right, I stand corrected. I stand corrected with the in your chivalrous behavior toward your lovely wife's birthday.
By
which
the
was
way,
fantastic.
you said I stand corrected. Did you see the Hamilton special that they had on the Tonys?
On the Tony Awards, I saw bits of it on YouTube. I did not actually see it live.
All
on
the
TV.
original except Anthony Ramos, and I was wondering what happened to Anthony Ramos. Like, why wasn't Anthony Ramos there?
I don't even know who
all
Anthony
the other
Ramos
ones.
is. Yeah,
You don't even know. You don't.
I don't even know who Anthony Ramos is. So
He's
I can't help
he
you.
probably lives on your street.
He probably does. He probably does.
I'm almost positive he lives in Los Angeles now. What is?
And well, I can tell you, we went and saw the Hamlet, the version of Hamlet downtown, which by the way was where we saw all the protests. By the way, we went down to the downtown, saw the theater, drove past the protests, which by the way, the loudest thing happening was the wonderful Tejano music that was being played in the streets and everybody was dancing. Anyway,
nice.
Get off on a rant. But the Hamlet was absolutely spectacular. It was so good. You would like it. You would really like it. It's
what does that mean?
Well, here's the thing, because
I go to plays and musicals all the time.
No, I'm saying it's like but sitting through 4 hours of Shakespeare's Hamlet it's a marathon. It's a marathon. But what they do is they split it in half, and so it's 2 hours without an intermission. The first half is a very truncated version of Hamlet. Very, just the major plot points.
Okay.
Basically in Shakespearean language, and it's lovely, right? Then all of a sudden they break the fourth wall, a detective comes out, and basically the next hour is this detective questioning all of the characters of Hamlet.
No way.
In modern language. Basically, it's like, it's like he saw what? A ghost of his dad? Are you on drugs? It's like,
so it's like a mashup of Hamlet and 12 Angry Men.
It's more like it's like a mashup of any movie where a detective comes in and they're all, everybody's in the house, and you have to figure out who the killer is.
Like Law and Order.
Yeah, like that kind of thing, or
okay.
wow, like Knives Out. Like
do we know anybody? Was there a famous actor starring in this?
Jessica from Suits, if you know that show. She played Ophelia.
I know of Suits. I don't watch Suits.
Yeah. And then do you watch The Pit on Max, the new show?
Oh my God, no! But there is one of our listeners that loves The Pit. We went out with them last night. We were at a Crushers ball game, which is an unaffiliated baseball team. We had a great time, and he wouldn't stop talking about The Pit. The Pit this, The Pit that. I don't want to sit with you any longer because I got to go watch The Pit.
Okay, anyway. It's good. It's good. It's good. So for that listener, it's the young, handsome emergency room physician, not whatever his name is, not the lead, but the other young doctor who looks a little like Chris Pine. He played Hamlet, and he was amazing. He was amazing in it. So there you go.
Jeez. Well, it's nice to see you getting out and getting a little bit of culture.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there you go. Yeah, exactly. It was actually, we had a great time. We had a grand time. It is very funny. We don't get out that much, and it was an exception for us, and we had a good time.
You should, because there's so much amazing.
I know.
I mean, LA.
We talk about it every time.
Has like you could go a year and every day you could do something different. Because there's so many things.
Dude, trust me, I know. My wife and I are woefully aware of this, and we're like, we got to do this more. Every time we go out, we got to do this more, and we are planning on doing it more. It's been, work and all that kind of stuff, but it's not an excuse. It's just an explanation.
Live in the present, son.
That's
what I tell my that's what I tell my youngest.
There you go.
He's getting done. Live in the present. Go be you.
Yeah.
Go be you in LA. That's what I'm going to tell you.
There you go. Well, speaking of living in the present, we have an amazing show to get to. So we'll start with our big stories, which lawsuits are flying. Disney's lawyers got bored, apparently. And if you know anything, you don't mess with the lawyers at Disney. They have now decided to sue Midjourney and others, basically on the AI for stealing IP. Then we'll talk about Mary Meeker and her report. It's back, the famous Mary Meeker report, only this time she's talking about mostly AI. We read the report, all 300 slides of it, so you don't have to. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Then Meta is betting big on AI, acquiring Scale AI, a $15 billion investment. We'll talk about maybe the implications of that. And if we get time, we'll talk about the DNC, how they have finally discovered content marketing and launched a YouTube show. So maybe interesting about that. We'll get to our winners and losers. I'm, of course, as I mentioned, going to talk about the loser that is the mainstream media and how they are losing the narrative quickly on not just what happened here in Los Angeles over the last week, but generally speaking, what's going on across the world in terms of protests against immigration. And Joe will have a winner where he's going to talk about I guess it's the AI and how it cites research.
Just some research. I like this piece of research. I think it's going to be very helpful if you're a marketer trying to figure this stuff out.
And then we'll get to our rants and raves, where I am going to basically talk a little bit of a rave, basically about, speaking of plays and Broadway, about some of the marketing that's going on with regard to getting young people into the theater. And I think that's awesome. And Joe will talk about MatPat and MatPat getting political, and it's going to be interesting.
It's really interesting. I'm really proud of what Matthew's doing, and I want to talk about it. And probably if people that are about half the people probably saw it happen, because it got like 20 million views on X and a bunch of places. So there you go. Good.
All right. Well, let's get to our first story. We're going to dive right in here, courtesy of Ad Age. And the headline here is that Disney, Comcast sue AI image generator Midjourney over alleged copyright infringement. The story opens up and says Walt Disney Company and Comcast Corp teamed up to sue Midjourney, accusing the startup of copyright infringement in the latest sign of tension between major media companies and a new crop of AI businesses. Midjourney, which launched publicly in 2022, allows people to create vivid AI-generated images using prompts like its competitors, ChatGPT and Stability AI. Interesting no mention of Google there. Midjourney built its AI models with data sets that pull imagery from across the internet. While the companies argue that the practice is legal under the fair use doctrine of U.S. copyright law, it has stoked outrage and lawsuits from a wide range of creative businesses. In a lawsuit filed in federal court in California on Wednesday, Disney and Comcast gave multiple examples where they said Midjourney violated copyrighted characters from films, including Star Wars, The Simpsons, Shrek, Minions, etc. The company said they asked Midjourney to stop, but their requests have been ignored. They're seeking $150,000 per infringement.
Oh my God, what is that? That's got to be a gajillion dollars.
Yeah, I mean, it's more money than is on the planet.
Goodness.
It's a silly number when you total it all up, I'm sure. Anyway, the quote from the suit says, "Piracy is piracy, and whether infringing images or video is made with AI or another technology does not make it any less infringing." I definitely have a take on this, but what do you think about this? I mean, this is, it seemed like every week last year we were talking about new lawsuits coming out, and okay, well, where are they, right? And so, is this something we're not going to see any sort of conclusion to for another 2 years?
Well, we'll talk a little bit about this on the next story and on the growth of AI and how this is the biggest deal ever. But I'm no lawyer, and everyone knows this, but for the most part, it seems like they have a case. It looks like, I would say, yes, most of these companies are infringing. I think so. I mean, I don't think it's fair use. If you're taking the content, like I saw on the one site, Axios was talking about, here's Yoda, and here's what Yoda looks like in these 3 pictures, and here's Yoda from Midjourney. It's just a little bit better looking Yoda,
right?
Is the way that it goes. This is such a huge opportunity for all these AI companies. There's so much money and probably dominance over the world order that's in play here. And I think that like when they're in these meetings, they're like, doesn't matter. Like, we're going to get sued. You're going to see another lawsuit tomorrow and the next day, and 3 a day next week, and on and on. You're going to see all these lawsuits, and just they're not going to pay it out. They'll probably just go to court and let them go. And because they know they're guilty, they'll pay out later or as late as they can when they settle all these things. And I think that's how it's going to go. I would imagine that, let's just fast forward 2 years. OpenAI is going to have to pay something like a $10 billion lawsuit to 10 different media companies, content companies, whatever. And we're going to look back and it's going to be like no big deal. So there's going to be companies like Disney that'll still be around, that they'll get their share of that money coming from Midjourney or OpenAI or Google or whatever the case is. And then you'll have a lot of companies that'll go out of business during that time. They won't even be there anymore. So they're going to take that chance. And that's kind of what when I see these things, I don't know if you're the same way, Robert. When I see these things, I'm like, yeah, duh. They're all breaking the law. And they're just going to keep doing that because the stakes are too high. That's what I think.
Of course. Yes. I mean, at some point you get to, the whole, it's a bad metaphor, but you get to the horses out of the barn. What are you going to do? Right. I mean, it's all of a sudden, this is what happened during the early days of Google indexing. Right. And you and I lived through that, both you on the publishing side, me on the marketing side, where Google indexing content, whether it was books, in their Google Books project, or, indexing content for, searching purposes, basically, there were many people at the time who thought it was infringing, especially on the book side, right? When they started their Google Books project, and ultimately, years later, they were found to be okay, right? They were found that it was indeed fair use. Now, I think you're right. I think there's a strong argument here, as we've said before, that this is different than just indexing, right? This is different than indexing the information and making it available as a corpus.
You're taking
and you're rendering something new, right? Yeah, you're taking data and then using that data to render something that is net new works that is based on that data. Now, the courts will ultimately have to decide what that means. I guess my only complaint here is that it just continually strikes me that we see these things get filed and then,
silence.
Then silence for years.
And then and I think that's the way it's going to be. There's paperwork that goes back and forth, and they want to just dump a bunch of paperwork on them. They keep it going as long as you possibly can. And then you're going to pay it off in a year,
right? You settle it, whatever. Right?
Yeah, you're going to settle it. And
but we don't even see them settling these things, right? It's like because you have to figure at some point. I mean, I haven't seen this happen, right? I mean, we talked about whether it was, Getty Images at one point sued. The New York Times has sued. Other publications have sued, and I don't recall any headline saying, "Oh, we figured it out. They're going to pay us, $10 million for all of this stuff, and we're going to." Are
you under the impression that the legal industry works quickly?
No,
this is going to be. I mean, I've been involved in a few lawsuits.
Yeah,
don't worry, I'm innocent, folks. But the one that I was involved in took 4 years, and it was a small little thing. I mean, so I'm under these big cases. I would imagine they can go on for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Right.
I don't doubt that they can. And I don't doubt that they will, in terms of, I get it. Discovery takes a long time, and they're going to bury it in paperwork, and it's going to be a thing and all of that. I guess what I'm suggesting is that it strikes me that there is a public interest here to settle this, right? To figure out, I don't mean settle in terms of settling the case. I mean, settle it one way or the other of whether it is. There's been enough lawsuits at this point that you would think getting some directional, adjudication on this, it seems like it's just, I don't know. It feels very much like we're tilting at windmills here, like one way or the other, right? And honestly, I don't know how to feel about it. I'm honestly, I don't know how to. I can argue both sides pretty well.
Yeah, I think that you will see these things happen, but where you'll see outcomes. I think that's what you're asking for.
Yes,
that'll be, and I think
clarity.
We're still waiting. We're still waiting months and months and months until we get that.
Yeah.
Because you've got these big organizations that are just going to throw everything they can at them, and they've got so many lawyers and so many AI lawyers and more AI lawyers on top of that. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
All right, good. Let's go ahead. You know what we should do is just take advantage, because the next thing we're going to talk about, we have a bigger take on, which is Mary Meeker's report. So for the second time in a row, let's introduce our new way of paying our bills.
Oh, are we doing this now? We're doing it
let's
early.
do it.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do
I'm
it
very
early.
excited about this. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Lights on, mics hot, we're ready to fly. Talking tech, life, and the marketing guy. We got takes that are fresh, jokes that land. But turns out hosting costs $1,000. So now we're rolling promos, smooth like vintage Romos. You hear that sponsor jingle? That's Rent, my friend, and Pringles. We got an ad in the shell and a dream we can sell. We're not sellouts, we're self-made, so chill. If the tune makes you dance while we monetize chance, then you're welcome. We're paying the bills, yeah, we're paying the bills.
Hey, marketers, strategists, future builders, are you ready for what's next? Yeah, HubSpot's Inbound 2025 is landing at the Moscone Center in San Francisco this September 3rd to the 5th. It's not just another conference, it's the gathering of the brightest minds in marketing, sales, and AI. Think Amy Poehler, Dario Amodei, Sean Evans, Glennon Doyle, all of them in one place. You're going to experience keynote moments, product reveals, immersive workshops, and tactical breakouts that actually move the needle. The kind of insight you take back to your team and use on Monday morning. It's smart, it's bold, and it's built for leaders like you. Head to inbound.com/register to claim your spot. Again, inbound.com/register, and we'll see you in San Francisco. You could let AI eat your lunch, or you could figure out how to make it serve you lunch, with a side of revenue. You want all that in a podcast? Check out The Next Wave, your Chief AI Officer. It's hosted by Matt Wolf and Nathan Lands, two guys who understand AI and can actually explain it without sounding like robots. It's like having your own Chief AI Officer minus the six-figure salary. Find The Next Wave wherever you follow your favorite podcasts.
Makes you dance while we monetize chance, then you're welcome. We're paying the bills, yeah, we're paying the bills.
I think that's
That
a hit
was-
song.
I'm listening to it just during the day now.
Yeah,
I-
I'm putting it on in the car. I've got it on my playlist. Yeah, it's
So-
all good.
So a wonderful listener, Ruth Carter, pointed out my biceps. I don't know what you did to the AI version of me, but the AI version of me is in really good physical shape.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to strive toward, is the unreal me. So that's what I'm working on. So
It's
thank
taller
you for that.
too. It's taller.
And the other, I like the one guy that's throwing out the money.
Yeah.
He just keeps pulling money from his hand.
I know,
Like
exactly.
it's just, how does this happen?
Exactly. And the funny thing is the prompt for that, the prompt for that was a host runs out at a big marketing event with a screaming audience, making it rain from his hands.
That's very accurate.
And of course it interpreted that literally.
The Google, is it Veo? Google Veo?
Veo,
or
yeah,
Google
yeah.
Veo?
Part of flow, if you have the
So I don't know. I've gotten 3 videos, like people texting, not marketers, regular people texting me about 3 specific videos. One is the Veo video of the newscasters, like they're saying, "Hey, this is live, Katie from whatever," and
right.
then
But I'm not
this
AI,
is-
but I'm
I'm
actually
not AI.
Yeah.
like all that.
yeah.
And then the other 2 were Moses and Aaron doing their
Oh, there's a
clips.
whole meme of that going on right now on TikTok. There's a whole meme of
And the other one is Greg the Stormtrooper.
yes. There's there the Stormtrooper series. There is. Have you seen the one of Mary and Jesus?
No.
Where she's saying basically like, so we're here in Bethlehem, and yeah, my husband didn't get us a hotel, so we're stuck in this
no.
manger, and I'm pregnant, and I'm about to give birth. You know, it's like, so she's basically doing a selfie of her giving birth to Christ, and then there's another one where Jesus is in. It's a really funny one where he's like, hey fam, we're here at the dinner. Judah says he's got a big surprise for me later on.
Oh, jeez, no.
It's really good. Some of that stuff is really funny. Yeah.
Oh, it is sad because I'm not on TikTok, but people are sending me these TikToks. So
they're very funny. Yeah,
I'm almost feeling like I'm almost drawn to the dark side because I want to see these things.
They're fun to play with. I've been trying to learn and play around a little bit more. You know, I will say this: my current early review of Flow, the application of putting video together. If you're doing one clip, it's super easy. If you're trying to tie a bunch of clips together, is that interface very googly? Man,
Really?
that interface is just not good. It is just, you know, it is very, very, it's the most googly interface ever in terms of trying to put clips together and how you navigate that. It's just not good.
Great googly moogly.
Great googly moogly. All right.
Let's do it.
Let's jump into this now. So Mary Meeker, who those of you who are internet sort of veterans would know very well. Mary Meeker used to every year produce a very, you know, at least 100 slides, if not multiple hundreds of slides around the status of the internet. She has now come back and has co-authored a report and being, I think it's Bond Capital now that she works for and has produced it about AI, the current trends of AI. And it's a, you know, I'll just give you my quick take on it because there's not really a lot to cover here. I mean, there's a lot to cover in terms of the report, but there's no coverage of it necessarily. But basically, we read it, so you don't have to. That's part of the service here at This Old Marketing. And is we have survived the 340-page data tsunami.
God.
And it's very impressive. The charts are very immaculate, very dizzying. It basically, I don't know about you, but the vibe I got was somewhere between sort of space race propaganda and maybe a Goldman Sachs fever dream. Basically, everything's unprecedented and super fast. And if you're not moving faster, automating harder, or burning more compute than your neighbor, well, good luck seeing you in the dust, right? Basically.
Yeah.
Now, interesting to me, and this is where I would love to get your take. What I find so ironic about this report is as I was reading through it, and I was, you know, maybe 100 slides in or so, the tone is this sort of, you know, the tone is very 6 months ago. In other words, the tone of it, even some of the results itself feel very first quarter 2025. And interestingly enough, so much things have changed. Like for example, she cites the Duolingo and Shopify going AI first as sort of part of this rush, part of this sort of get on board. And of course, both Duolingo and Shopify have sort of backed off of their comments because of the you know, sort of the whiplash. And so it's interesting because the sort of meta irony here is that the report actually is slower than the innovation it's actually covering. And so I think it's a fascinating thing because I have issues with the breathlessness here, which I can talk about in terms of what I think you should take out of it as a marketer, given, you know, sort of what I've been doing in counter programming into this whole AI and speed thing. But I would love to get your take on and see if there was anything that stood out to you right away.
I actually like the part. I'm going to bring this up here. So you obviously saw this, but this is page only 36. So you only have to go into 36. I like these from, not that she did a lot of research for these, but she asked ChatGPT, like, what are the top 10 things you're going to do or replace in 5 years and 10 years or whatever. And I fully believe these things. Like I fully believe in when you're looking at 2030 or 20, like this is the one where you have on screen right now, looking at 2035, conduct scientific research, design advanced technologies. Yes. Operate autonomous companies. That's AI operating autonomous companies themselves. Like these things are happening. And I fully believe these things are, and I don't, and I guess there seems like you could look at this and say a lot of this is hyperbole. A lot of this is not going to happen using maybe some old data. But I have trying to have an optimistic viewpoint of all these things happening, that we need to focus on, as human beings, on our skills, what we're good at, what we like to do, what our purposes are. And if we focus on our skills and those types of things, I think we're going to be okay. But if you look at anything like I want, and this is, we've talked about this many times. If you look at, I want this job, I want to do this thing, you're going to be out of luck, because that job or that thing is not going to be not going to be around. It's going to be something else. It's still going to use the skills, maybe some of those skills, but you really have to go into that area. And that's where I'm just trying to look at this list and say, okay, which jobs that are out there right now are at risk? And I can't find any that aren't.
Right.
I can't find any current jobs that aren't at risk of going away or completely changing.
Right.
So that's where, and it's almost the thing where the most fascinating slides to me is the growth of ChatGPT and OpenAI, where we have never seen a company ever, like, and I'm not like making this too big. We've never seen a company go from 0 to $1 billion as fast, $1 billion in revenue as fast as OpenAI.
Yeah.
It's never, ever happened. It's not even close. Facebook didn't do it in near the amount of time. Google didn't do it in near the amount of time. Apple certainly didn't do it. So we have so much money going toward these things. If anything, this does not go far enough to say what the changes will be. Yeah. It's hard to put a box around it to say what's going to happen.
Here's what I'll say to that, and maybe I'm just being naive, maybe, and I'll fully admit to this, right? But I don't know that I'll give up the fight, even if I am considered naive or Pollyanna about this at all, because what I believe is that I 100% agree with you when this is sort of the challenge I have, right? Which is this idea that AI is going to affect those jobs that are commoditized and leave, and when I say jobs, I mean tasks. I don't mean people, right? So it's going to affect those jobs that are commoditized, and it's going to, the argument seems to be, by some of this breathless stuff, seems to be, okay, it's going to take care of these commoditized things, these boring, rote things that, knowledge workers are doing currently, and then leave the creative, and more strategic stuff to humans. And then I go, but don't we believe that it could replace that too? Like, I mean, I don't see any reason why it wouldn't, right? In other words, leaving doctors from summarizing things to leaving doctors from diagnosing seems to be a good example of that, right? So, we can leave doctors to more diagnose more things rather than write derivative reports and basically do do research into various cases, because AI could take care of that for you. But AI can diagnose as well. So why wouldn't, if we believe that it'll take care of some of these things, to your point, why wouldn't we believe that it could take care of all these things? In other words, to put it into the marketer's parlance, if we believe that it can write bad content, why do we not believe that at some point it can write or create good content? And so replacing all of the creative strategy that we currently have. And so if you sort of go down that chain, it's like, well, okay, then what are we talking about? Like, what are these creative and strategy things that we're talking about that humans are going to be so wonderfully at doing, right? And nobody seems to have a really good answer for that. And I'm struck by, for example, so there was a great, I almost linked it into the show notes. There was a great LinkedIn post that went pretty viral from someone at Google, or someone ex Google, who talked about the idea that Google has, yes, indeed laid off 30% of their coders, or whatever the number is, but they're only seeing a 10% increase in efficiency, right? In terms of what's going on there. In other words, it's asymmetric. In other words, you can't replace one for one. And so because what happens is that you have to have more humans checking the code because it's wrong, because it needs qualifications, there's a security risk. So in other words, it's not writing amazing code at the moment. Now maybe that gets better, maybe that doesn't get better over time, but the point being that you to have a human in the loop means you have to have a human in the loop. And I promise I'm going to get to my point, which is if we believe that the human in the loop is the important part of this. In other words, you believe as a business that you can do, that AI will enable you to do the same or more work with fewer people. You have to also inherently believe that AI will help you do more or better work with the same or more people. And so I don't know why in these sort of presentations and why the general zeitgeist seems to be on the former. Like, why are we building a future that is all about getting rid of people out of these things instead of having the tools to help these people do things better? Why is the narrative one and not the other? Why? Because it's clickbaity, because it's fear, because it's we're so ready to accept the efficiency world of AI where we're all put out of work and somehow, it replaces us with, Terminator robots. And we're not eager to say, we could actually have more people doing more creative things, more deeper work, more intellectually stimulating things, and building something even better with more people. And I don't know why we're so eager. And maybe I'm tilting at windmills here, but I don't know why we're so eager to accept this breathless, peopleless world.
So my take is you're not wrong, except for the fact that money is involved in this. And because everything underlying this entire presentation has to do with money.
Right.
Who's making the money and where the money's going. That's everything. So if you look at how organizations are set up, what is the biggest cost of most organizations? The labor. In a lot of cases, unless you're heavy manufacturing, most cases, it's the labor. If a company wants to make more money and have more money to spend on all these new technologies and AI and grow as fast or faster, because we're going to see another OpenAI ChatGPT, they're going to eliminate as much labor as they can. And it's not going to be pretty for a while.
Sure.
And you've pointed out some really good examples, but I think that's why, because you're not talking about a CEO that cares. The CEOs that are leading these frontier companies, I don't think they're thinking all about what's best for, how do I get my employee to grow more? What I want them to be happy. Like, they're not thinking about that. They're thinking about, we need to get more money so that Zuckerberg can buy Scale AI and invest in another thing and do another thing, because they're moving so fast because they feel they have to. That's my take. It's all money.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with the fact that CEO is going to CEO, right? That they're going to make stupid decisions, because I would argue as a business strategist, right? So there's a thing taught in business school, still taught in most business schools, called RBV, right? Resource-based value. And it basically means that the people that you hire, your resources, the people you hire and the abilities that they bring is a core part of your competitive advantage. And so what we're suggesting here is that a commoditized technology doing commoditized things that everybody else can do basically gives you more competitive advantage than having different resources to be able to do different things. In other words, different people to do different things. And so making my team smaller and building the same technology and same capabilities and same activities as my competitors is somehow going to make me more competitive. I don't buy that. I just don't buy it. And so when I look out there and I go, okay, that may be what's happening, but I don't buy it as a smart way to go about it. I think differentiation, maybe I'm too wrapped up in my Michael Porter from business school, but the idea that competitive advantage is not done by doing the same things faster or more efficiently, operational efficiency. Competitive advantage is built by doing different things, different activities than everybody else is doing. And so I don't know.
I don't. I mean, yeah, we've been talking about this for a while, and we will continue to talk about it. But when we have these discussions, I think about the movie Office Space because that's the best movie.
Yeah, there you go.
But think about that. So he went from a software job that was very, very replaceable to a construction job that is not. That was very, very needed.
Yeah.
Just think about that, folks. Just, I mean, that I'm not painting like a horrible. It's not necessarily a bad situation, but if we look at right now, the fastest growing areas of growth for jobs, they're people that can do things with their hands. So it's funny how we're seeing this move from, I mean, we already saw the decimation of the factory worker and why that happened.
Sure.
The technology and manufacturing got to that point, and now we're seeing the decimation of the knowledge worker, and it's getting so much more attention today because we're the ones we were the right ones writing all the content, putting out all the stories, doing out all these things, and now our jobs are in jeopardy. It's not those, and it's moving the other way. It's going to what we thought of as low skilled, but that's very highly skilled.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think it's, I think it's, I mean, these are questions, absolutely not answers.
The only other thing that I would say to your thing about a doctor.
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel, but if I'm going into, this is terrible to say. If I go into a doctor and I've got all the data in front of me and I want one doctor to give me the opinion, I trust a computer. I would trust the knowledge of thousands of doctors theoretically against that data than to trust one doctor. And I think that's where we're going, where I think that we absolutely are going to a society that we will trust the AI or the computer version over the human version.
Ooh, I think that's dangerous ground.
I think it is dangerous ground, but I think it's absolutely true, but it's already happening in marketing. What's the first instinct when a CEO needs a new plan for a product launch? Their first instinct is to tell somebody, say, run it through ChatGPT.
Sure.
That's their first instinct. It's not, hey, smart marketer, put a plan together for me. Hey, use AI and see what they say.
But have you seen the articles going around about how AI is breaking its chain of logic and ostensibly lying to you? About how it gets to certain things, how it gets to certain answers.
I'm not saying that there's not a lot. I mean, right now we've talked about the many things where it's weird. You cannot absolutely, if you get something coming out of any AI system, you have to check and verify it.
And that's one thing when you're talking about a marketing white paper, and it's quite another when you're talking about a diagnosis of a disease, right? I mean,
I understand that, but that's right now. That's not 6 months from now. That's not 9 months from now.
I hear you. I don't disagree with that at all. I just
that's how the end of the world. That's how the end of the world happens.
You know what I'm doing? When it comes time to go for the bunker, I'm gonna bring a bunch of people with me. That's all I know is that I'm gonna bring a bunch of people with me because I'd rather have people with me than ChatGPT.
I think I want a moving bunker. I think I want an RV, bulletproof RV, solar panels on the top. Is that possible? Can an RV run by solar? Gosh. Because I don't want to be under the ground or in a shelter. I want to be able to move. I don't know.
I want to be able to move.
I want to be free.
I want to be able to move.
All right. Be free.
Okay. We're going to get to our winners and losers here. We're going to skip the other stories. Yeah. But by the way, Meta's acquiring Scale AI, blah, 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 $15 billion.
We talked about it. We mentioned it. We'll put the link in the show notes. You all know. They're all buying. Anything that's for sale in AI right now is going to be bought in the next 6 months by the 6 largest companies in the world.
Basically, Zuckerberg is freaking out that, DeepSeek sort of drank his milkshake with the whole open source thing. And he's trying to figure out a way now to differentiate. So that's the real story there. Anyway, let's get to our winners and losers, where Joe and I pick a winner from the last week of marketing and media and or a loser from the last week. Would you care to go first with
Yeah,
your
mine's
AI
real
citing research?
super quick. I love this. Let me bring it up here so you can see this. I learned about this from Joe Lazer's Substack, really good Substack on content and marketing, and just talked about, hey, if you want to get cited by AI, here's the sites that are coming up more than ever. They're basically 47% of the time they're coming from Wikipedia, 11% Reddit, 6%, 6.8% Forbes. This is a study from Profound from August 2024 to June 2025. I guess the point is, and the point that Joe is trying to make is, if you are a company and it's still important that you want to be cited by these search engines that are going more and more artificial intelligence. How do you do this? You can still do it the old fashioned way, but make sure that you're finding a way into some of these Wikipedia results, some of these Reddit. So, and we've talked about Reddit very recently as well, about a really good way to put a couple community people, content people on your team to make sure that you're involved in those sites where these conversations happen. So it's just interesting to see how it's very similar to the way it was 15 years ago when we said, hey, we want to get found in Google. How do we do it? Well, it's just a little bit different here over to AI search engines. So here we go. It's Wikipedia, Reddit, and Forbes gives me, I didn't like that result at all.
Well, I mean, what it shows you is that it's and this is something that there was another article this week on exactly this, which is, it was somebody who basically showed how you could manipulate Google News, the AI Google News results, by simply, getting enough content out there and getting it on enough footprint so that it becomes it hits all the right things to check off for Google News. And it was basically somebody from Apple, some mid-level designer, basically got fired. And it happened right at the time that Apple was having its Worldwide Developers Conference. And then basically, his post on X went viral, and therefore it hit Google News. And it's because a lot of the news outlets immediately, because it's viral, they cover it. You get the news stories, boom, now you dominate the front page of Google News. And that's a really interesting thing, is because now it starts to build the citation, right? So literally the optimization of content for citation at the moment, and we'll see if this changes, at the moment is based on footprint rather than depth or quality. And so you just, I mean, look, Reddit is generally a good source, but it's also because it's a huge footprint. When you look at something like, to your point, Forbes or something like that, you start to grit your teeth a little bit in terms of the quality of that citation. But
yeah, I mean, there's NerdWallet, New York Post in here. I mean, it's just,
I mean, some of that's content marketing, right? So of course it's going to be biased, and of course it's going to have a slant to it, and it's going to have a point of view against it, and all those sorts of things, which isn't necessarily a bad thing unless it is, right? I mean, it's a spectrum here of what we're talking about between that which is built with point of, and we've talked about this in content marketing forever, which is, there's a line at which you become, where you're selling and or point of view becomes self-serving, and that's kind of stops being content marketing anymore. But Google doesn't know that, right? Yep. AI doesn't know that.
And there are a lot of news outlets out there that are content marketing.
Training data be training data, right? It doesn't matter that, if the data is high quality or wise or, experienced or not. Training data is all built on volume. So
that is a good name for your next presentation. Training data be training data.
There you go.
5-minute presentation from Robert.
All of a sudden I have Denzel Washington in my head going, you can't, me, I'm King Kong.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. You have a loser.
I do have a loser, and it's the mainstream media again. I ranted on this a couple of months ago when the LA fires broke out. And this is larger than just what happened in Los Angeles this week. This is broader, more broadly speaking, around what's happening with the current administration. And this is not, so my point is that this is not a left and right policy issue, right? This isn't about whether you're for or against illegal immigration, as an example. And my problem is that the mainstream media keeps framing, and I'm going to use these protests as an example of this, just as a pointed example. But whenever I say the protest, basically read just about anything these days where there are, there is basically a protest happening against this current administration. Because, so for example, we keep framing these, and this is the media, keep framing these protests as if they're about immigration policy. I heard it this morning, right? Mainstream media is, they got a reporter in the street of downtown Los Angeles, and they're saying the protests against the Trump administration's immigration policy. No, that is not what this is about. Nobody is out there on the streets basically waving signs that say, yay, illegal immigration is awesome. This isn't about whether you're for or against illegal immigration, or you even basically want to discuss the nuances of what and how to solve illegal immigration. This isn't about what the policy is or what the left and right version of good looks like. It's about the how. What people are protesting, what I'm so upset about in my city, or what I'm, what generally upset about in terms of basically the administration and the way it's comporting itself, is how they are enforcing all of its policies. Illegally deploying troops, basically violating posse comitatus in states, staging these high cost raids, that are costing millions of dollars to get one person out of a the back of a kitchen so that they can deport them to El Salvador, basically accomplishing really next to nothing. They've, by the way, deported fewer people than Obama deported in his administration, and he, of course, did it the right way. Basically, they're all cosplaying as these military dictatorship civilian communities, like coming in with their riot gear and their big bulletproof vests and all their trucks and unmarked cars and masks, and looking a little bit like stormtroopers. That's the issue, right? For this particular issue, and there are others here. But the headlines, the mainstream media, if you listen to it, Los Angeles is on fire because protesters are clashing over immigration policy. No, this is not some sort of thoughtful policy debate. This is not a disagreement about the policy. It's a revolt against the abuse of power that's happening right now. And I don't care which side of the issue of illegal immigration you're on. Don't at me with, well, you believe that immigration is all and we should open our... No, that's not the point. I believe in sane, illegal immigration, policy, nuanced immigration policy. It's a complex issue and all of those kinds of things, and we can have a debate about that. But when you have the federal government overreaching its power in so many ways, invalidating the judicial, invalidating what's going on in the states, invalidating what states' rights are, invalidating how it uses the military in the past, invalidating all kinds of norms about how it executes law and actually basically uses the judicial and the justice system. This is about people basically saying, you don't get to terrorize my neighborhood in the main of optics and marketing and basically in media, and then pretend it's law and order. And if the media can't get that right these days, if they're going to abdicate their sort of fourth estate responsibilities, they're not reporting, they're just spinning things for clicks and ad revenue and more Toyota and Cialis ads. And so I think it's just ridiculous. And so I blame in large part the media for abdicating its responsibility.
That's very well said. Except that's what you said last time during the.
I know.
And that's what we
maybe
continue to talk about the same thing.
I'm going to keep saying it. I'm just going to keep saying it because I see, I so often see like the CNN, right? I watched a CNN sort of, I don't know, it's a debate or whatever. It's just more talking heads sort of talking to each other, and mainstream media, especially the news media, tends to be very dramatic about congratulating themselves, right, when they get things right, and basically also completely rationalizing it when they get things wrong. And they were debating. It's like, well, is it the Democrats' fault because they didn't do this, or they haven't fought hard enough, or is it the media is not reporting right? And it's like, and the one that's taking the media side is like, we're just reporting both sides. We're trying to be fair and balanced, and we're trying to report, but it's like, but it's not about a both sides question, because it's not about whether or not you agree or disagree with the policy. It is about reporting what's actually happening here, which is this sort of misuse and disease that's actually happening in the execution of policy. And it's just wrong. I mean, it's just plainly objectively wrong. And to frame it as if it's a disagreement with the actual policy is just wrong. And so the media, in an effort to make sure that they don't get kicked out of the White House, or they don't kicked out of the press room, or they don't get sort of targeted, the silly reporter this week from ABC who got fired for literally saying that the Trump advisor was a hater. That's all he said, was that Trump advisor was a hater. And yes, it went against ABC News policy, and maybe he needs to be fired, and maybe he wanted to quit anyway, and sort of use this as an excuse. I don't know the intricacies, all of that. What I do know is that the mainstream media is just rolling over on their back and basically letting things happen. And I just think that's a real sad state for of where the Fourth Estate is right now.
Yeah, the Fourth Estate is definitely in a load of trouble, as it's been. I don't know.
There you go. Sorry, I went off on a bit of a rant there, but I just think it's something that's been bugging me all the last couple of weeks.
It's important. Everything's around getting everybody's emotions going.
Yeah, well, but to me, this is balls and strikes, right? This is not, look, I'm a Gen Xer. I'm as apathetic as it gets when it comes to this, when it comes to politics and stuff like that. But this gets my hackles up, because this is not about a topic. This is about how things are getting done. And I just don't recognize it anymore. I don't recognize it as normal. So so I have to, at some point, I have to just say something.
This is absolutely not normal.
Yeah.
And I think that it's interesting that California is the first target.
Well, of course it is, right? I mean,
but but also California is probably in the best position to stand up.
Well, I wish he would do it. I mean, there was
what Gavin Newsom and I mean, it isn't it they do, like it or not, they give more to the federal government.
Sure.
Than any other state.
Yeah, $8 billion more than they take in.
So there you go.
There you have
All right.
Let's get to our rants and rave section, where Joe and I go off on a little bit of a rant or a little bit of a rave. And I promise you, I have a rave. It's going to be something fun and positive to sort of end on. And Joe, I think you have a rave as well.
I have a rave.
Speaking of politics,
ready to go. Yeah,
MatPat.
I'm really. Here's some little post here from MatPat on X, and you can find it in a number of places, but I'll put this here because all the assets in the video is here as well. So for those of you that don't know Matthew Patrick, Matthew actually spoke at Content Marketing World in 2013, believe it or not. And if you're not familiar with Matthew Patrick, if there was a list of like top 10 like creators of our age, he would be on this list. He ended up creating game theory and food theory and selling for lots and lots of money, and has stayed involved in the creator community and has decided to launch, I want to get this right, the Creator Economy Caucus in the House of Representatives, a bipartisan group where creators can work alongside lawmakers to ensure legislation is timely and relevant for the internet age. This is in Matt's words. We've already got approximately 10 representatives on board, and we're just getting started. We'll eventually want to assemble creator advocates from around the country. So if you're interested, he's basically putting the call out. And the whole idea here is Matt wants to show being a content entrepreneur, being a content creator is a big deal, a part of the United States economy, and it needs to be thought of as a business by these representatives. And this is a really important time, as you just brought up, Robert, with this whole thing, and make sure that they get a seat at the table as well.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, MatPat put on his big boy suit for this, and he's right in front of Capitol Hill doing his thing, and good for him. And he has, I mean, this is from 2 days. Is it 2 days ago? Has 20 million views on just MatPat's post. That's how influential Matt is in this whole thing. And I don't know exactly what the goal is. There's AI on the agenda. It's making sure that that these are looked at like insurance issues. There's lots of issues with these types of businesses. The fastest growing business in the United States right now is the business of being a content entrepreneur. So this is really important. And I like MatPat behind this. So if you're interested in getting involved, please click on the link we'll have in the show notes. Follow what MatPat is doing. And I'm going to be doing the same thing and wish him all the best. And I'll try to get involved the best way I can. And I sent him not that he's going to respond to me, but I did send him an email. And I'm like, dude, man, I'm proud of you. You know, whatever we can do to help, we're going to help.
Oh, that's great. Oh, I would be really interested if he responds to you. That's fantastic. Good for you. Good for you for reaching
something
out.
else.
Yeah.
And by the way, I mean, in Content Inc. in 2015, we did an interview with him. He's a great case study in that book, in the 2020 book as well. Just amazing. Kind of did it. He did what Mr. Beast is doing, but in a little bit different way, but ended up having his exit. And now he's doing something that he's following his purpose, and good for him.
Yeah. Well,
so
MatPat is not Mr. Beast. Let's just be clear.
Different tilt altogether.
Very different. All right. Very different.
What do you got? You got
I got a very quick rave. We'll have the link in the show notes, of course, but basically it's a case study in Marketing Brew that talks about how a creator, really a marketer, is really turning basically live theater into social media content. And it basically tells the story of this marketing person, I guess more of a content creator than anything else. It really sort of has helped to reframe what's going on Broadway in the theater to get more young people involved in theater and in Broadway. And it's just really a great case study. And I wanted to rave about it because, you know, and I know you're a lover of the theater. I'm a lover of the theater. It's just a wonderful example of how we can use our talents and gifts and creativity to get the younger generation interested in going to the theater, and the kinds of theater that are getting done these days, which is also fascinating to me, sort of how theater and the topics that are being explored and the kinds of plays that are getting done are really evolving. It's just a great read. I wanted to sort of highlight it and put it in the show notes because I think it's just a great example. I mean, it was almost, you know, because I wanted to do the loser on the media, I could have switched either of these out. This would have been my winner this week, and then I guess my rant would have been the media thing. But you know, I wanted to call out the media as being a loser. So there you go. That it's just a wonderful example.
Anything to get the kids more involved.
Oh, it's just really, it's just really
theater.
good. It's really fun. It's interesting. It's happy making, all of the above.
I've been doing as you know, I've been doing more research on brain health, and one of the parts about that is when you're more involved in music, or if you learn a musical instrument, or if you go to musical, like anything around music always helps the brain.
Yep.
And keeps.
I can speak firsthand about that. Yes, indeed.
Purposes. So very, very important. All right, another quality show.
Another quality show in the books. We
did it.
I got through it. What do you got? What do you got this weekend?
Well, I got a very big deal happening on Monday, and that is the 500th episode of Content Inc. podcast.
Oh my goodness gracious!
So I haven't recorded it yet. I've been thinking about what to do for 500. I've had some people some of our friends reach out and say congratulations. So thank you for that. But I feel like this is a big deal.
It is a big deal.
Making it.
Sure.
I mean, we're coming up on our 500, which is
Yeah.
going to be an amazing deal. And I've been doing this little 5-minute podcast for a long, long time. So it's so that's on Monday. So if you want to go to contentinc.io is the address. Or just type in the Content Inc. podcast. Catch that. Let me know what you think. All that good stuff.
Very nice.
And you, sir?
I will be spending the weekend in a couple of ways. One is on Saturday. I will be joining part of the 1,800 events that are going on around the country, the No Kings protest that are happening. And I'll be joining one of those. My wife and I will be joining one of those here in our local area down in Malibu. And then then the rest of the weekend, try and relax a little bit, but also work on my book that I'm working on for the launch for for that you inspired actually for the launch at CEX, which I'm excited about. So I'll be
Congratulations.
continuing work
Very
on that.
excited to read this. This is awesome. Yeah, we will both be launching books at CEX in
Yeah.
August. So this is so exciting.
It's very exciting.
It's very exciting. This is good stuff. So, all right.
All
Good
right.
deal.
Well, there you go. There you go. All right. Well, thanks to all of you. Thanks for putting up with my nonsense, my rants and all that kind of stuff. Hopefully it's inspiring in some small way. Thanks for putting up with us for an hour and 15 minutes. And, we'll see you again next week with a regular show. And until we see you again next week, just remember, everybody, it's your story to tell. Make sure that everybody's telling it the way you want it told, and you tell it well. We'll see you next week on This Old Marketing. Hey, thanks a lot for making it this far in this week's episode, and thank you all for being a part of This Old Marketing. You can check out all the show notes of what we talked about today at thisoldmarketing.com, and it's also where you can leave us a review or a voicemail. We need those reviews and comments on whichever platform you follow us on. And if you haven't followed the podcast, please go do that and make sure you catch the latest and greatest episodes every Friday morning. We're on Apple and Spotify and all your other favorite podcatchers, of course, but we'd love it if you went over and subscribed to us on YouTube. That's right, YouTube. youtube.com/@thisoldmarketing. We'll see you again next week, folks, with another episode of This Old Marketing.